Hey guys, it's your boy, Ballface8020, back again with another great movie review. So, my nostalgia is biggest for the 80s and 90s. I'm so nostalgic for them that it hurts. I guess that's kind of part of the thing is, I think that's actually the literal translation of nostalgia. Like, it implies some pain. Really, I notice it when during the holidays when we watch movies like Home Alone. It really takes me back to that time. And, like I said before, I don't know how much of that time was just being that age, and then how much of that time really it was a special time in America. So the reason I'm mentioning this now is because generally 70s, 80s, and 90s, often that's the nostalgia factor plays a big part of why I like to watch movies from those times. I wasn't around in the 70s, and I remember my dad telling me, because I remember one thing that that they didn't have it, like that was in this big in the 70s that they didn't have anymore. Two things really, and maybe I mentioned these before, that sounded really cool to me when I was young, were the stadium rock concerts of the 70s. Now I know even today they still have stadium rock concerts, but they were like a bigger deal in the 70s. And drive-in movies. I remember talking to my dad about it, like how cool that sounded, and he was like, those weren't cool at all. They were terrible. Those things were horrible. And so I don't know, but some things about the 70s like really have always really appealed to me, and there's just something special about 70s movies. Not that they're my favorite types of movies, because they're not. And so I heard about this movie called Straight Time from the late 70s, 1978, starring Dustin Hoffman, and who's an actor who I don't really have strong feelings about one way or the other. But the movie, I saw the thing. It was said that it got really positive reviews. I had never heard of it. Like I said, I like 70s movies. And so I rented it on YouTube, and I just finished watching it. And because I just want to talk about it here. There's going to be some spoilers. I won't spoil the ending. So the film follows this guy, Max something, I forget his last name, and that's played by Dustin Hoffman. So, he has just been released from jail for 6 years, San Quentin. So this is in Los Angeles, and I can't remember if I feel like he did the 6 years for burglary, which seems really excessive, but I don't know if it was like he was in for robbery or burglary. I don't know. And because it seems more like it would be robbery, but I'm pretty sure they say burglary, so I don't know. But so he's just gets out, and he's trying to go straight, and he's got a probation officer, or a parole officer, who's I guess you'd say he's being a dick with him, and the parole officer says, because Dustin Hoffman's character Max, once he gets out, he's supposed to report to a halfway house, but he doesn't do that. He goes and you takes the money that he was given and goes and stays in a motel. And his parole officer is like, well, you were supposed to report to the halfway house. That's part of the condition of your parole. And he's like, yeah, well, I just got out. I don't want to do that. I want to, be on my own. And the parole officer is like, all right, well, look, if you can, I'll give you a week to find a place to stay and find a job. If you can do that, then you don't have to worry about going to a halfway house. And so Max, Dustin Hoffman's character, goes and does just that. He goes and he goes to some temp agency and gets a job, and he finds a room that he's able to rent. And it's when he goes to get the temp job, there's like a young receptionist there who's played by this actress. I think her name's Tiffany Russell. I don't know if she's got any relation to Carrie Russell. And, she's, quickly becomes the love interest. So, but anyway, and here's where we're going to do like some minor spoilers just to like say what it like, so where I'll stop spoiling after this key part. So these key parts. So he's got the job, he's got the apartment or the room really, and he's starting this relationship with this new girl, and I guess I don't know if he's like in his he's a 30-something, and this girl is like 21, and people in like the reviews and stuff talk about how like she's beautiful. I don't see it. She's one of those like Miranda Kerr types who's like all the facial features are there, but just like it's like less than the sum of its parts. Like she's pretty, but she's pretty in a very 70s way, which is not a good thing. And I honestly, I would say a 6. I mean, way too good for, a 30-something Dustin Hoffman, but I just didn't see her as beautiful. But anyway, so he's got the room, he's got the job, he's got the relationship with the, pretty 21-year-old. So he's doing all right for himself, but he a friend who, he has, comes over to his house or his room and shoots up heroin. And left the matches on the floor. So then there's this one day when Max, the main character, comes home, his parole officer is just like rustling around his room. He's like, "Oh, hey, here to check up on you," something like that. And then he sees the matches on the floor, and he knows like, "What are those?" And Max goes, "Matches," and he's like, "Yeah, I know, but were you shooting up?" Checks his arms to see if he's been shooting up, but he knows it's like, okay, you weren't shooting up, but you were violating your parole by having somebody who was shooting up in here. So he takes him to jail. Takes him to wait in jail while he goes and gets tested, to see if he's high. Even though he pretty much knows he's not, and leaves him to wait a week in jail. So that means a week in jail. That means he loses his job and loses his room. And then his parole officer comes back and is like, "Yeah, sorry, been a busy week for me. That's why I left you here so long," because he didn't need to leave him there for a full week. But it's all good now. Like I'm actually being really generous of you because you could go back. I could add like 2 to 3 years to your time if, for what you did, having somebody shoot up in your room. So you don't have a room anymore. You don't have a job. So I'm going to go we're leaving right now. Getting you out of jail right now. And I'm going to drop you off at the halfway house. So, while they're on the drive to the halfway house, the, parole officer is, giving him shit, being like, look, just tell me who it was shooting up in your room. And he's like, and Max keeps going and saying, I can't tell you that. But he keeps at it. The parole officer keeps at it, and Max just snaps and like jumps over at him, starts choking him, and takes the wheel, and keeps punching him, until doesn't knock him unconscious, but has him like discombobulated, and then finally gets on the shoulder of the road, forces him off, forces him out of the car, grabs the guy's handcuffs him to a fence on the side of the road, and then pulls the guy's pants down and drives away in his vehicle. So, it's not possible to go straight anymore. He's now a fugitive, and he's got to go back to a life of crime. So I'm not going to spoil anything else after this. So the film features some familiar faces: young Kathy Bates, young Gary Busey, Dean Stanton, he's a character actor who's been around forever. He played the sort of main antagonist in the HBO drama series Big Love, which I was never that into, but I saw a couple episodes and he was really good in it. And he's also actually, if a movie that I really do like, the Last Temptation of Christ. He plays the Apostle Paul, and he steals the show, and he's great in that. So that guy's in it. But the only reason, like the film, it's a good film. It's a good neo-noir 70s film. You know, depending on, I mean, if you like that kind of stuff. So I mean, I'm not like whether I would recommend it or not depends on that. What inspired me to make the video, though, what struck me about it is just the performance of Dustin Hoffman, which is one of the best performances I've ever seen. And, you know, when I say that, it's because it's the most effective against type thing I've ever seen. I'm not saying that there haven't been more, you know, convincing performances or more entertaining performances and stuff like that. There certainly have. But well, maybe not in the convincing thing, but Dustin Hoffman is a guy who, you know, if you think about like his like the roles, like when if you took people, because I guess he is known as being a great actor. I've never really thought of him as that, but I guess he is known that way. But if you think about like what's like great actor, what would be the examples? It would probably be Kramer versus Kramer, The Graduate, and Rain Man. And Rain Man, he just played a retard. That doesn't impress me at all. That's like, you know, like, I mean, like Leonardo DiCaprio did it, John Leguizamo did it, and I can tell you, like, Leonardo DiCaprio did it in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, and Leo was great at it, but I don't consider Leo a great actor. John Leguizamo did it in some, I can't remember what the movie was, but he wasn't, I mean, yeah, he did a good job of it, but he wasn't great. I just don't find, you know, playing a convincing retard to be that impressive. You know, I'm not saying I could do it, but it's like, you know, and I think it got lampooned, right, in that movie Pacific Rim, you know, like the whole like full retard thing, or Pacific Blast, whatever it was called. So yeah, so I mean, I never saw that, but although, you know, my brother did see it, and he said it was, you know, and he's not like a Dustin Hoffman fan or anything, but he said it was great. So I don't know, maybe, whatever. Now that is a very 90s movie, one that I've never seen, but a very 90s movie nonetheless. And the Kramer versus Kramer, I've heard about it, and I think I even read the wiki about it. It doesn't sound interesting to me. I know my brother said it was great. Yeah, it's not. I don't really think it's my kind of film, from what I've seen of it. But yeah, I mean, okay, so I could see him doing a role like that. Like I said, like, so playing a retard is whatever. And because again, Leo did a great job of it, and I don't consider Leo a great actor. He's not bad, but he's nothing special. And I'd say the same about John Leguizamo. So forget that. The Graduate, I don't know, but from what I've heard of it, it sounds like it's a role you could see him playing. And Kramer versus Kramer, again, I'm sure he did a great job. I'm not knocking the guy, but there's, you know, like, you know, it's something I could see him doing. Now, when I think of Dustin Hoffman, you know, having seen him and stuff, having seen him interviewed, just looking at him, what I see is basically a pretty, just kind of a short, normie Jewish guy. And not necessarily like a nerd or a pushover, but like just kind of a maybe relatively mild-mannered guy. I don't know if that's what he's like or not, but I do feel like that's what, you know, his roles, you know, at least, I mean, obviously Rain Man is different, but his roles in The Graduate and Kramer versus Kramer certainly seem like that. And in Little Big Man. So that's, I mean, yeah, again, like in interviews I've seen with him, that is so not what he's like here. In this, he's playing like this, like very hardened, very impulsive, very dominant and intimidating, you know, convict, you know, or career criminal. And he so nails it. It doesn't seem like a guy, I mean, he does it perfectly. And that's obviously not him. You know, it's one thing to, like, you know, like like, I mean, Dennis Hopper isn't a, career criminal either. But like when you see him in criminal roles, it is congruent with his sort of naturally crazy personality. Same thing for somebody like, Joe Pesci. These are guys with naturally very dominant, high energy, intimidating personalities, and that's how you see it. This one is, you see Dustin Hoffman, that is not that guy. I mean, he may be a bad guy, I don't know what he's like, but to see him, be this sort of ruthless and intimidating criminal is just amazing acting. It's again, one of the most impressive performances I've ever seen, based on the guy who was playing it. Now, if it was like somebody, because there's guys who get like typecast as bad guys and criminals. There's like so many people. It's not like it had to be Dustin Hoffman doing that. Okay, there's so many people out there. Many who we've never even heard of, who could have played the part, just as well. It's not that. I mean, although he did play it very well. But to have a guy who it's so not him, do it that well, that's really impressive. The thing is, because I think I even read somewhere, it was like, you'll see that you can see alpha males play beta males, but you can never see a beta male play an alpha male. And this would be the exception. Dustin Hoffman strikes me as a beta male. Maybe not super beta. He's not Michael Cera, but he's beta. And he just effectively plays a total alpha. It's really impressive. Really impressive. So, and it's a film that's probably more about the acting and the scenery than the story itself. I think that's probably most films. It's like, if you want a story, read a book, probably. Although this was actually based on a novel that was written by a career criminal, so I guess it was semi-based on his own life. Yeah, so would I recommend it? I don't know. Depends what you'd like. Definitely an interesting. If you have any interest in neo-noir or 1970s films, yes, definitely check it out. If you have an interest in just great acting performances, check it out. If you don't really like neo-noir, or you're more of a story person, then I don't know, still might be worth watching. I managed to keep my interest, keep my attention, which is saying a lot, because I've got the attention span of a goldfish. That's all I have to say. That's all for now. See you in the next.